general, like it was kind of like a random idea. We'll see what happens. And he was like, oh, how do I help?
So my first actual introduction to programming, as it were, was this magazine that my dad subscribed me to when I was really little, like 8 or something. And he would, every week you'd get a new magazine with a new part in it, and you'd put the parts together, which eventually built up into this little bug robot thing. And every week you got a little bit more and it could do a little bit more. And eventually it came with a CD, which you'd plug into your computer back in the CD days. And you could use that to actually write little scripts to get the robot to do things like follow a line around or listen for your voice and go to that. And yeah.
That's really cool.
My dad was into computers and physics and my mum was a biochemist. So I was going to end up in the sciences somewhere. I really wanted to be a doctor and I really wanted to go into medicine and helping people and learn that way. And then when I went to med school, I realized that I did not want to be a doctor anymore. Biology is it's awesome, but it's a lot of memorizing and learning, and it wasn't a lot of creative thinking in the way that I was expecting it to be, at least not at first. And I realized that that wasn't using the skills I wanted to learn. So at the time I was actually working doing like data entry stuff for the computer science department, and I was really lucky because I met someone through there who said, oh, I've written this piece of software and if you like I can show you how to change some things here and it'll make the like field input change, or it'll change the color. And I'm like, oh, that's really cool, how does that work? So he encouraged me to go off and take the Introductory to Computer Science 101, and I really loved it. And then I did the next one. Yes, so I studied a Bachelor of Computer Science, and on the way I picked up a logic second major, I guess. They called it logic and computation, but it was essentially like do some computer science, do some maths, do some philosophy, put it all together. And I really liked that. So I ended up doing an honours year in that as well, which took a little more than a year, but that's fine.
What was your thesis on?
Paraconsistent logic, which is like something is true and the opposite of that is false. But what if there's a middle state where something's not true, but that doesn't necessarily mean false? We call that contraction, and it's in most like standard logics, but there are a lot out there that don't use that system, and we call that paraconsistency.
Yeah. Or
oh no, no.
What was the thinking, I guess, back then?
I absolutely made it up as I went along, I won't lie. I enjoyed my papers and I wanted to do more of them, so I went and did another year of honours, and I really loved it, but I was starting to run out of money, I was starting to run out of motivation. I didn't really know what I wanted to do next, which for me was a really clear sign that I shouldn't keep studying. So then I went and tried to find a job, and it took actually quite a long time to find a job. Graduate tech jobs in New Zealand are hard to find. Yeah. So currently I'm an SRE, a site reliability engineer. We do the DevOps. Not that I like that word, but that's the best way I can describe it. When your computer connects to the internet, you have your computer that talks to the router, that goes off and talks to another server somewhere, that goes and talks off to a bunch of other servers somewhere else. I look after those other servers all the way down the far end. So these days that's all hosted in the cloud, which is Amazon. They have huge warehouses of computers, and I work to make sure that the software we build runs on those computers well. So basically every week there's something new that comes out. Someone has found something new or done something interesting or built. Sometimes it's the tiniest little feature on something that's been bothering you for months and you've had to find many workarounds, and suddenly they've released the ability to distribute the load differently and you're like, oh, excellent, that solves so many of my problems. I think that's the biggest thing for me, just the way it constantly changes, and every week there's something new to learn, and there's no way to master it because you know, give it 6 months and it'll look totally different. There is this sort of attitude that I notice in our industry sometimes that's almost like gatekeeping. We think that we're better than everyone else because we work with the computers and the computers are hard. And I'm not saying working with computers isn't hard, don't get me wrong, but we tend to think that we're gods because we can do these things. And realistically, I think that even though it's hard, it should still be accessible. Like anyone can do it if they wanted to. It's just a case of not crushing people before they get there. I think a lot of it is jargon, actually. We talk so much about the AWSs and the ECSs and the Dockers. What are the Dockers? And it's jargon heavy that it can be so alienating. I remember coming through and going, oh, what's GitHub? What is Docker? What is AWS? What is S3? What are all these things? And all of these are just fancy terms for concepts that, you know, have existed and that university did teach us, but it didn't necessarily equip us with the right language. I think, again, it talks to that gatekeeping issue of you can only come and be one of us if you know all the right words, but how are you supposed to learn them? Especially with the industry that's changing every 5 years. What do? So I joined while I was still looking for a job, mostly because I wanted a job. But I found this amazing group of people who were all experiencing the same things I were. They weren't sure about themselves. They wanted to help everyone else. They wanted to make a difference. They wanted to, well, for some people, they just wanted to get a job. But it was people who were struggling with the status quo and struggling with that gatekeeping in our industry. And I wanted to start helping. And then the next thing I found out, there were people who were joining that community that weren't finding the same things out of it as me. They were still being gatekeeped in a different way. And that's not cool. So I signed up as an admin to try and help discourage that behavior when I could see it and help educate people to keep our community as open as possible, because we meet that everywhere else. We don't need it online as well. I wanted to go into medicine because I wanted to help people. I like the job I do now because I get to help people, I get to help engineers, and I get to set an example, and I get to make people's lives easier. And I think that's, if there was one thing that I really wanted to do, it was make other people's lives easier. Some advice I got a little while ago that's really stuck with me actually is not to fight the battles you don't have the power to win yet. And that really spoke to me because I'm constantly feeling injustice or angry or annoyed at something that's going on, and I can sit there and I can cry all I want, but that's not going to necessarily change anything. Sometimes you have to let it go and pick your battles. And I think that's, if there's anything that I'm working on right now, it's that. It's choosing the right time to have the fight. And hopefully in a few years I'll have more power and I can come back and actually fix it. I can't fight the system. Like, I can't suddenly make 1 million jobs for all of my graduate friends who are looking to get their first tech job. But maybe one day I'll own my own company and I can. That sort of thing. Something that I think I'm done struggling with, if I'm being honest with you, is they call it imposter syndrome. It's the idea that you're not qualified to do the thing you're doing. You're just an imposter, and suddenly someone's going to realize that you don't have any idea what you're doing, and they're going to find out and they're going to fire you, or they're going to not take you seriously anymore. That has been really hard for me. Going through university and going through postgraduate university especially, I remember someone turned around and said, "Oh, what's your research about?" And I just went, "Oh, I don't have research. I'm still learning. What are you talking about?" And that feeling has never really gone away since. Especially in this highly technical world where everyone's talking in jargon all the time and everyone knows what they're doing. You're just kind of going, "Oh yeah, I know what those words mean," and you're very privately looking it up and online later. It's something that I've decided I'm not doing anymore. I've started just asking the question in meetings, "Oh, what are spot instances? What is this thing?" I hope that that's actually contributing to other people in the room who are feeling the same way. I don't even know if anyone is feeling the same way, but I don't know what I'm doing. I don't have it all together. I don't know if anyone does. Maybe everyone does and it's just me, but I think a lot of us are pretending all of the time, whether it's at work or in personal life. Wow. I've always wanted to be a pastry chef. Okay. I would love being a pastry chef. It's just making dessert all day. Shy of that, I do actually really love the job I do now. If I could find a way to do the things I wanted to do and just essentially go around and build the things I want to play with and go from there, I think I would do that. I'd want to build something that helped the tech community be less exclusive, I think. I don't know what that would look like. I'm suddenly thinking back to the Multitudes project that Alex and Lauren have been working on. It's incredible. It's talking about equity in the workplace and making sure that teams have representation across the teams and it's fair for everyone. And that is the sort of thing that gets me really excited.
Should we do something like that today?
We talked about the imposter syndrome thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I could start my own thing. I'll get there. I know I'll get there, but maybe not right now. I think I'm still at this point where I'm like, oh, what's the best way to do this? I don't know. I should probably go and ask someone else. And I guess tech founders probably feel the same thing. Like, you can't succeed by yourself. You've got to go find the right people. But that doesn't mean that I'm not nervous about it.
Yeah. Of course. Of course.
The people I work with, my team are absolutely incredible. And everybody's got their own set of strengths, and we can just constantly learn from each other. And that environment where everybody's different but we're all learning together is so good. It's so incredible.
What about outside of work?
My cat. I'm also a big coffee drinker. I love going to coffee, and I love brunch. I think brunch might be my hobby.
On the beautiful chair as well.
I'm impressed she hasn't destroyed it yet.